So I write the guy, I'm like, look, I will PayPal you deposit right now. I will come get it next week in a few days. I just want to talk to you on the phone to nail down the details. Doesn't respond. I lost out. It was the fish that got away. And you could have thought, should I just driven to his house? Like I didn't know his address with money and be like, I'll make it rain, what up? What's up, people? So today is actually a frustrating day, but one we can learn from. And I'm also kind of depressed, in a humorous way possibly, because Porsche 944 prices have become inflated. I didn't, like, it always happens that way. Like everything's cool with cars and car prices and stuff, and then I don't pay attention for like 3 months, and then all of a sudden, like, 3 people and like 10 dealerships that suck are like, oh, I'm gonna try to get a lot of money. And then they jack up the prices. And then like everybody else is like, oh, that must be the market. And then all the prices changed. So I'm really disappointed because the Porsche 944 was like the one car, that and the 924, that I especially liked. I've had like 4 or 5 of them in my past. And most recently had a really nice early dash red one that I fixed up on this channel. A lot of people enjoyed it. And I needed to make some room. I needed to move on to other projects. So a couple months back, I just put some pictures of my cars and I'm like, I gotta sell 2, here you go. And the 944 was the one I wanted to keep the most because I was daily driving it. And I enjoyed the car, but it was the most useful to me of the MR2 and the Scirocco, which weren't done totally yet. But lo and behold, the 944 sold. Boom, somebody grabbed it within the first like hour right away because they've been watching my videos and they knew it was quality and there was a lot of love into it. And I was being very reasonable about the price, as you'd like people to. I just didn't want to try to like crank up the price or anything. So it sold and that's cool, and I made some new friends, and those people are just enjoying the heck out of the 944. The lady, she had wanted one for, God, forever, and she got the exact color combination she wanted. So the whole family's enjoying it, really happy about that. But anyway, so I hadn't really paid attention to it because of course I had the 928 that I'm just finishing right now, about to go back on the ground and other things. And I'm like, you know, I think I want another one of those things. Like I didn't really want to sell it. And some of you may know from my VinWiki story when I said 944 is my favorite Porsche. You can take your air-cooled rear engine hootenanny that's inflated by PCA snobs and stick it, even though they're faster. And, but anyway, the 944 color combination, like my dream 944, so to speak, is an early dash car that's black interior. I don't really care if it had like cloth inserts or part cloth seats or they are all leather, whatever. Just black interior, black dash. Hopefully the dash is still in pretty decent condition. And a white car with white Fuchs wheels. And the funny thing is about that combination for 944s, that is a really rare color for early 944s, like 83, 84, and like the very first few ones of 85, before they changed to the newer dash, which looks like a 911. And I think it's kind of boring because it looks like a 911. It looks like every other car. I like the early dashes with the old goofy, you know, Madonna bra, pointy gauges, and the tachometer that sweeps upside down there. It just feels like racier and more quaint and funky and European. Even though those cars aren't worth as much because they didn't have all the improvements the 944s got over the years. And the trouble with trying to find a white early one is, if you do find one, they're probably having a brown interior, which I want a black one. That's just my personal taste. And the other issue is, a lot of them got ragged out. So that's one problem. But there was a couple of early white ones, but for some reason, I don't know if it's like the people that have owned them forever were the kind of people that liked white back then, but I found a couple that had super inflated prices. And what I mean to say is like a good 944, just a normal one, should be anywhere from a $5,000 car to like a $7,500 car. That's what they're worth. If it's like really stellar, you know, maybe the better part of 10, maybe 10 if it's like the nicest thing around. And there's these guys that have them in collection. They're like, I'm fancy. I have records on this. I belong to clubs. Ugh. And they're asking like 13 to 15 grand for it, or dealerships. And then like if one has less than 50,000 miles, these jack wagons are like, oh, I want $20,000. I'm like, get a life. A few years ago, I bought one for 45,000 miles for 4,500 bucks. Like, get over yourself. Like, they're just trying to inflate the prices. But the thing that the inflators don't realize is it's a 944. Like, that's not what the Porsche snobs like. It's what young guys like and people like that and they're enthusiasts. And it really irks me a lot, the people that are trying to inflate the prices. And you can see it because some of them do sell for more money. And you might put a really cherry one on some like super premier auction site and get in the teens. But the cars sit on the market forever at the high prices. And I never really worried about them in the last year or two because they're still good cars for reasonable amounts of money. And I sold mine for a reasonable amount of money. And I knew of 2 cars in the last, I don't know, 6 months to a year I found that were the color combination I wanted. It was an early dash, it was a white car with white Fuchs wheels and a black interior. And I know some Porsche geeks are gonna be like, well, Fuchs sell for a lot of money on eBay. Yeah, well, when they're on a car, they don't add that value to the price of the car. Like, relax and get over yourself. So anyway, I knew of 2 cars. One was owned by an enthusiast that had a couple cars up in Michigan, and it was a pretty good example. It's not like that great, no offense to the guy, but like, it's a nice car, but it's not like super cherry and super everything. And there was another one that was a little lower, they're both over 100,000 miles, okay? The other one had a little bit better paint, a little bit better body. The interior was pretty good, had a couple rips and cracks, and they both had the stupid dash cover, which were kind of like getting wavy and buckly, which I don't really mind them until they get wavy and buckly. And the car in Michigan, the guy, it was funny, like he wanted to get a hold of me because he knew it was the color combination I wanted from the Vin Mickey story. And I had just bought my red car, so I didn't want a second 944, even though I thought about it. And we were always within $500, but neither one of us would budge on the price. And back then, it was even less money. Like, I don't even know what it was, but it was, I don't know, like, I was like, I'm not gonna spend more than like $4,000 or $4,500 maybe on this car, because it still needed service and everything. It wasn't like that nice. It's like 150,000 miles or whatever. So I just kind of paid attention to it for a long time. I think I talked to him once, and then I was thinking about it again, and I called him, or he got a hold of me. I can't remember. Anyway, he said, and then it was like, I might have paid $4,500 or $5,000, but then he wanted to be like, he was still $500, he wouldn't come that, we couldn't meet. I'm like, I don't think this guy really wants to sell the car. And then so I decided recently, just now, because actually I'm selling the 928 to a friend. So the people out there that wanted the 928, I'm sorry, I've made a deal with a friend. They're gonna have a great time. I'm sure it's gonna be on social media and be really cool. But the car is going away. I'll have some finishing videos for it, but I've got some new epic adventures coming up. So I was like, I'm gonna get a 944 and I'm gonna get the one I always wanted. I'm gonna keep it, I'm gonna make it great. I miss doing 944 videos. I love that so many people got inspired to be into 944s because of my videos, and I was disappointed when I sold it. So I was pretty excited. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna choose one of these cars. And the guy that had the other one, it was a little less miles, a little nicer, I talked to him months ago, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy this car. Because originally when he advertised it, it said it had like 25,000 miles. And I'm like, oh yeah, I will pay a premium for this, which is still like crazy money. And I talked to him, and he was a nice guy, an enthusiast, but not very educated on cars. And it was 126,000 miles or more, not 26. And I'm like, well, okay, sir, like I appreciate it. I'm still interested in your car, but that changes its value, like period. That's all there is to it. Instead of being worth like X, it's now worth this. And I wasn't trying to beat him up, but I was just being honest. I'm like, this is what it's worth. And he said something, honestly, really dumb in terms of a car sale. He's like, well, I feel like if I sold it for less than X, I'd be doing a disservice to the person I bought it from. And I'm like, are you serious? It's called the market, man. I'm not even beating you up and trying to be a shrewd negotiator here. I'm just telling you what the market is, and this is what it's at. And if that doesn't suit you, you probably ought to take it off the market. So the car, guess what? Sat on the market for months. Nobody's gonna buy it. It was too much money. And it being too much money was still like 6 or 7 grand. Still wasn't selling. A nice example, not selling, which is gonna bring me to the point I'm going at right now. So he came back to me and he goes, if you're still interested, I'll sell it to you for $5,000. I'm like, oh, interesting. I think I could be into that. So and he's pretty far away. And I said, all right, well, can we meet in the middle? Can you drive part way? Because it's gonna take some doing. And we text corresponded, and it just went silent. And I'm like, hey man, can we talk on the phone? Yeah. He's like, I'll call you tonight. I was really busy at work. So for 3 days in a row, I kept writing him. I'm like, let's talk. I'm fine with that. I'll send you a deposit. Can we call and talk about the details? So for 3 nights, he kept doing this, and I'm like, what in the heck? And I call the other guy with the other one that has like 140, 150,000 miles, and we cannot get to a deal. Like now it goes up another $500, and he doesn't want to come down at all. And I'm like, well, sir, you probably ought to just keep it and then enjoy the car or whatever. And I'm like, whatever, I'll buy the one that's farther away with less miles. So I write the guy, I'm like, look, I will PayPal you a deposit right now. I will come get it next week in a few days. I just want to talk to you on the phone to nail down the details. Doesn't respond. Like, I'll call you tonight. Doesn't call me tonight. Next day, doesn't call me tonight. And I like call him and leave a message. I text him. I send him a thing. I wanted to buy his stupid car. Like, I was ready to buy your car, man. And he goes, oh, well, somebody locally's offered me $5,500 to come tomorrow. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I've been trying to buy your car for days. Like, I was trying to buy your car 2 months ago. God. And I write to him, like, I will match $5,500 for this car. I'm just trying to buy your car, man. I'll send you deposit now. Doesn't respond. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I write him and I'm like, I don't normally do this, but like that was the one I wanted and I don't want to screw around. I'm like, I will give you $6,000 and I will send it right now. And he writes to me, well, the guy's coming after a little while. I'll let you know if it doesn't sell. I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, I just offered you more money than what this guy is doing. You don't have a deposit on right now. And he writes me back and says, well, I'll get you back with you if he doesn't buy it. And I'm like, dude, that's fine, but I'm not going to give you $6,000. It'll go down. And it was sad to me because he just like, that, like, I lost out on buying the car I wanted. And it's not a super high dollar car. And I'm like, as much as I want that combination, I'm not going to pay a premium just because I want it. I just want to find it. You know what I mean? Like, I remember years ago, this guy I got connected with who owned the 67 Corvette, Marina Blue, 327, no soft top, it had a hard top that my dad had that he sold when I was a little kid before the prices went up. My dad always missed that car like crazy. Well, by accident, I ended up bumping into a guy who knew that exact combination, found the exact same car, and I talked to him, and he wanted to charge us like 20 grand more than it was worth. The guy just, I'm like, dude, I'll pay you a little bit too much money, but not like stupid, like I'm a boomer and this is the only thing that matters to me. Look, don't hate me for saying that, but it's true. You all know it. When somebody finds the one car they want, everybody that's in a mess of cars think they can double and triple the money just because somebody's older and they have to rekindle their childhood. I'm not that way. Like, I can just go get another car and have just as much fun. It would be nice to reunite it, but you can't, you're not gonna rake me over the coals. So I was super disappointed, and I even tried to offer the guy more money because, like, that's what I want to go after it. And the disappointing thing was I'm an experienced car buyer and seller, and I'm very good with communication. I'm like, look, I will send you the money. Let's just talk on the phone once. Like, that means, hey, finalize the deal. And, like, I'll even pay you too much. But because the guy selling the exact car I wanted was so inexperienced at selling the car, not only did he miss out for selling it for more money to me, like, I missed out on getting the car I wanted. Like, and you could have thought, should I just driven to his house? Like, I didn't know his address with money and be like, I'll make it rain, what up? Like, how do you buy a car from somebody that like has no idea what they're doing? It's so disappointing to me. It was so disappointing to me. And then I wrote him, he's like, well, I sold it. I'm like, dude, like I have been trying to buy this car from you for months, like disappointed. And he writes back, well, the guy was local and he came by and maybe I'll get to see it driving around once in a while. I'm like, maybe I'm gonna see it driving around. I'm like, dude, you could have just looked up my name on Facebook. I got a YouTube channel. You could have watched the whole thing being restored, me driving it. Like, dude, I can't be like mad at the guy. And like, I can't really be mad at me because we both did the best we could. It's just that he's not experienced at all, and I was experienced. Like, I don't know what to do. Do I just say, like, hey, moron? Like, I lost out. It was the fish that got away. So I was bummed. I'm like, darn it. So now I'm like, I want a 944. I'm going to keep looking. I'm going to start scouring the United States for what I want. And so I got online, right? And my jam is Facebook Marketplace because Hemming sucks. Everybody just puts on cars there that sit on there for like 3 years at hyperinflated prices. They never sell. You can't win anything on Bring a Trailer. It always goes for idiotic money. Dealerships all suck. Like, everything's too much money. So I just stopped looking at stuff like that. And Craigslist is dead. So the cool place to buy cars, unless they're overly niche, is Facebook Marketplace. Or at least for me. So I go to Facebook. And Marketplace is pretty fun. Heck, that's where I found my, that's where I bought the Sandrail. That's where I got the 928. That's where I got my Formula car. It's just a fun random like yard sale of goofy old crap. And I like that. So I go on Facebook Marketplace, I type in 944. And so here's one, a white one, 86, $13,000. They can go screw themselves. This guy wants $15,000 for an 88 with 32,000 miles. They can go screw themselves. I don't care if it's low. Here's a black one in Cleveland, which I was into, 90,000 miles. That's no bad. 6,500 asking. Interior looks nice, but it's automatic. Nobody wants an automatic. They sell for peanuts. Here's an 84 early red one with 80,000 miles, but these jackwagons want 10 grand for it. Car looks nice, but I'm not paying him 10 grand for his car that's got badly reupholstered seats and like stupid looking drug dealer wheels on it. And then, you know, there's a bunch of others. This is like a red one. It's like asking 8 grand for an 85, but it's red. Like I had that. I want a white one. I mean, red's kind of prettier and I sort of like it more. And this is a nice car, but it just ticks me off because all the 944s, the reasonable people have their prices inflated between 20 and 30%. And the unreasonable people are like pleasuring themselves in the mirror and asking teens for it. And it's stupid. So I'm just disappointed because most of the early 944s are black or red or like champagne, which is a fancy word for metallic brown. And I can't find the car I want and it drives me nuts. And I'm not gonna get a later dash because I'm quirky and weird and eccentric and I like quirky, weird, and eccentric things. So I'm sort of disappointed here, you guys. I don't know if I'm gonna get a 944 again because the problem is when you've been around long enough in the car world, you remember when the prices were reasonable before they got hyperinflated by jackwagon dealerships and auctions and like the fact that there's all kinds of classic car financing out there and idiots just go into debt because they think they want it instead of just like looking for a deal and being reasonable. And I can't bring myself to pay what I consider is too much money for one of those cars. Like I like them, they're quirky and they're fun, but they're not fast. Like I don't beat on them. So I'm just disappointed, you guys. Like, and probably I have myself to blame somewhat for saying how cool 944s are and driving them. For them being inflated a little bit. And I'm just annoyed. I'm not annoyed that they've gone up a little bit in value because they should be worth a little bit more than they were. But I'm really annoyed that dealerships and these collectors think they can ask teens for them. Because what they're doing is those cars are not selling because they're owned by people that don't care if they sell or not. And they're not selling, but what they do is they influence young people that are trying to make a buck or people that don't know any better of jacking up their prices. And then those cars sit on the market and then they just stagnate the whole thing and makes it no fun for anybody. So screw all you guys. They're not worth that much. And I'm miffed because like now I'm gonna have to find something else cool to buy for less than 10 grand. So I'm just gonna tell you what I'm thinking about. 80s Alfa Romeos, which evolved from like the Duetto, are an awesome buy. I don't know if they're reliable or I'll like them, but they're pretty. And you can get them for what 940 prices should be or less. And C4 Corvettes, even C3 Corvettes. Like, I don't know why, but Corvettes are really cheap right now. I found a pretty cool 85 Corvette with a manual. It's pretty rad. It's like 5 grand or something. And I've had those, and I've cut a lot of Corvettes in half building custom cars. I don't have like a burning desire to get one, but it could be cool. I guess I'm just ticked because like for as long as I've been around, like I've been able to find about any car I want, but I've never been able to get a hold of a nice early dash Porsche 944, black interior, white exterior with white Fuchs wheels. And it's really ticking me off. Yeah, I know. You're all crying because my life sucks. Okay, guys, that's all. I'm sorry. 944 prices are getting inflated. So I hope you guys got in when they were cheaper. And I don't know. Will I get one? Will I not? If anybody to help me find the combo I want for a reasonable price, I'd appreciate it. Otherwise, I guess I'm just going to have to go on and find another adventure with the car and keep building awesome things. Because as much as all the rich old guys and collector car auctions and everything inflates the prices of cars beyond belief to where nobody has any fun anymore, whatever, I don't care. I will build my dreams. And I'll bring you guys along. See you next time.